play Clank in Space. Okay, in front of us here I've set up a 2-player game of Clank in Space. This is a deck building game in which you will be using your hand of cards in order to defeat monsters, obtain valuable resources, with the attempt of traversing Lord Aranica's spaceship, with the intent of stealing one of his artifacts, and making it out alive with the most victory points at the end of the game. Each player starts off with the same deck, made up of 10 cards, including 6 hack cards, 2 stumble, a scramble, and an access. On each turn, you will draw 5 cards from your draw pile, and that will make up your hand for the next round. So let's take a look at some of the cards here. So the very first card that I have is a stumble card, which automatically generates 1 clank. I've made some noise as I've tried to traverse the spaceship. As a result, I will take one of my clank, my blue cubes here, and put it in the clank area in the bottom left. The scramble and the access card provide 2 boots. The boots enable me to traverse through the actual spaceship. So if you take a look at the board here, you'll see these blue lines. These blue lines, or hallways, that connect each of the room require 1 boot to move between each of the rooms. So with the 2 boots that I have here in my hand, I could move effectively 2 rooms. 1, 2. However, you'll also notice on some of the blue lines there are these little symbols with the 2 feet. So in order for me to traverse between this room to that room, I would need to play 2 boots in order to move between these 2 rooms, limiting the distance that I can go. Also on the scramble card, I have access to this number 1 skill. In addition to my 2 hack cards, I also have skill points available, and I use these skill points in order to purchase additional cards from the general market as well as the reserve on the left here. The reserve are yellow bannered cards, which are basically made up of 3 types of cards: a deck of Boldly Go, Phaser, and Memory Cores. The market is made up of valuable resources that will assist you in building up your deck and help you make your way through the actual spaceship. When you purchase cards from the card market up the top here, using the skill that's indicated on your cards in your hand, that card gets placed on your discard pile of your deck. When you run out of cards to pick up on your draw pile, your discard pile is then shuffled up, and that will then establish your new draw pile with your newly purchased resources that you've added to your deck. From the cards you can purchase from the card market up the top, you will notice on some of them they will have these associated factions in the top left here. So we have the Pirates, the Science faction, as well as the Resistance. In some cases, for example on the Trader card here, you have a special ability that if another Pirate card is able to be played on your hand, then each opponent gains or gets +2 clank. So in order to gain this special ability, in addition to this Trader card, another Pirate card would need to be played on your turn. Not only is there valuable resources, but you'll also come across enemies that you'll be able to defeat that will also grant you benefits as you go through. So let's take a look at some of the other symbols that are on the board. So we've talked about the 2 feet symbol in order to walk between two rooms. Another symbol you'll notice includes the little monster symbol here. Looks like Frankenstein. Whenever you walk between 2 rooms with a monster symbol there, you will take 1 damage. You can counteract that damage with these red swords, which are initially available on the Phaser card, as well as other cards that are available within the market. So for each sword, it will reduce the amount of damage by 1. So you will notice that there are some symbols or some hallways with 2 monsters. So in order for me to go between these 2 rooms here, I would need to have 2 red swords on my cards in my current hand that would reduce the damage. If I am unable to reduce the damage, then I would take some of my Clank cubes and place it along the damage meter up here. So this reflects your health. Once you reach the end with a little skull at the end, you are then out of the game. Other symbols on the board include the ability to obtain credits or money, which are denoted by these tokens on the far right here. Some areas will give you the opportunity to gain life. So if I went onto this space here, I would actually be able to remove one of my damage cubes from the meter there and put it back into my reserve. There are power crystals here that will provide special abilities on specific cards. For example, the registry hack here, it would cost 3 skill in order to purchase the registry hack. It would provide 1 skill when played from your deck. Plus, if you have a crystal, it would enable you to trash this and up to 3 other programs in your play area or discard pile. So you can see this is a program style card, and there are other program cards within the game that once discarded would be removed from your deck, enabling you to cycle through your cards a little bit quicker. Continuing to look at the board, you'll probably notice right off the bat there are all these little circles with the question marks on it. When you first land on a room with 2 secrets, is what they're referred to, you would automatically take the top secret, and that would provide you typically with a benefit of some description that will help you throughout the game. On the back of the rules, we'll actually provide a token reference guide, which will provide all the information pertaining to the major and minor secrets that you can reveal as you go through the spaceship. So the minor secrets are the small discs here. The major secrets are the purple larger discs, which will typically provide a better benefit than the minor. Couple of other things I need to point out. When you do reach a room with the red area here, that refers to as a security checkpoint. So in the event that you were working your way through this area, you would actually need to stop in this room, avoiding you from actually going any further, even if you had more boots that would enable you to go further within the spaceship. These orange areas on the map provide you access to purchase additional items from the market down here. Each of the items in the market cost 7 credit, and looking at them here, so we have the first one, which is a health pack, which when purchased will automatically heal you for 2 health from the health tracker up the top. This is called the master key. So you'll notice on the board there are icons with a lock indicating that you can't pass through that hole unless you have one of these master keys here. The telepass enables you access to the teleporters within the game. So in order to activate the teleporter, I would need one of these in my stash, and then that would enable me to teleport to any other teleporter on the board. Bearing in mind, when you do use the teleporter and you reach the another teleporter on the board, you have to stop your turn there, as it's considered to have like seasickness. You can't walk after using the teleporter itself, so you would need to end your turn there. The last thing you can buy from the market is this Contraband. This allows you to activate bonuses on your cards that you require having Contraband from the actual card market up the top there. There is only 2 of each of these items available within the market. As you progress through the spaceship, not only is there the teleporters that are available to help you navigate the spaceship quicker, there is also the hyperlift that's available to everyone in the middle here. So this will provide a quicker way of navigating the actual spaceship. So obviously the main goal of this game is to steal one of Lord Erraticus's artifacts that are found at the back of his ship here. In order to access this back end of the ship, you are required to obtain one of these command codes. These command codes will allow you to access his vault. So you'll notice that his vault cannot be accessed unless, or you can't cross into his vault unless you have one of these access codes. To obtain an access code, each player will have 2 data cubes, which are these translucent cubes here. You need to place one of these cubes in two different areas of the board. And they are placed in these green sections here within each of the three main areas. So once placed, you will automatically gain the benefit. So in this case, I would gain 5 credit for placing one cube there. If I was to play a cube here, I would actually gain 1 clank. I would actually make some noise in doing so. Once you've placed your 2 data cubes, you will automatically be granted an access code for you to then be granted access to the vault there to steal one of his artifacts. Once a data cube location has been taken up, nobody else can place their data cube there. They must find another data port in order to hack the system. Once you manage to make it through to the vault and steal one of his artifacts, the idea is that you then need to make your way back out of the spaceship alive. You may only pick up one artifact, and the deeper you go within the spaceship, the more valuable the artifact is. As you play throughout the game, there are 3 times in which Lord Erraticus gets a little bit more irritated in the fact that you are traversing his spaceship. The 3 occurrences are when somebody manages to get a command token, when somebody picks up an artifact, or when somebody reads his diary with one of the minor secrets here. When one of those 3 items occur, or when one of those 3 events occur, we actually move Lord Erraticus up on his rage tracker here. Once Lord Erraticus reaches the rage tracker where these red cubes are on, it unlocks for him bounty hunters that, when pulled from the bag, will actually return back to the bag as opposed to staying out of the game like his black cubes would. So the red cubes would be added to the Clank area and then added to the bag once Lord Erraticus does rage the next time. The second to last spot on Lord Erraticus' rage track is this Blockade, which actually deactivates the hyperlift, requiring the players to actually hop off of the hyperlift earlier and then making their way to the cargo bay towards the end of the game. As you are making your way back out of the spaceship, back to the cargo bay, and you're able to escape using one of these pods, it will net you a further 20 points at the end of the game. In the event that you make it to the cargo bay, however, are knocked out as a result of your health meter, then it is expected that your allies will actually drag your body to one of their spaceships, and you will then be able to count up your points at the end of the game. In the event that you are knocked out in any of the other areas outside of the cargo bay, unfortunately you're unable to count your points, and then you are out of the game. A couple of other things to consider looking at the cards at the top here. In addition to the reserve yellow bannered cards, there is also this Aerobot card that remains in the reserve pile at all times, and you have the ability to attack him as often as you like, just with the 3 red swords there. In the event that you do, you are able to achieve 3 credits for your use. The card market up the top here, as I mentioned, will also present itself some enemies that you are able to defeat. So in the case of this Killbot here, if you are able to defeat him using 2 red swords, you would gain 3 credits. Whenever a card is brought out on the market with this Lord Erraticus portrait here, that means that Lord Erraticus actually attacks. What this means is every time that occurs, we take any of the Clank that are currently within the Clank area down here, we combine it with the Lord Erraticus black cubes, place all of those cubes within the Lord Erraticus bag. So I'll take the blue here. We shake up the bag, and then we draw the number of cubes indicated on the rage tracker here. As Lord Erraticus gets more irritated, the number of cubes that we pull from the bag does increase. So I would draw, in this case, 3 cubes. In this case, they're all 3 black, meaning that Lord Erraticus missed us. In the event that a player's colored cube is drawn, that cube would then add to his health tracker up the top here. And that's pretty much it, guys. At the end of the game, you will count up the victory points associated to the artifact that you managed to steal. There are points awarded sometimes on some of the minor and major secrets. In your deck of cards, there are victory points associated to some of the cards that you purchase, indicated by the green circle on the top right, plus victory points associated to the value of your credits that you have accumulated throughout the game as well. Add up all of those points. The person who has the most points obviously wins the game. Welcome back to the Victory Point Coalition, Clank in Space. This is the sequel to Clank, which is more of a fantasy version. I have not played it, I must admit, but I do really enjoy Clank in Space. I love the theme, a lot of humor again in this game. In the flavor text, a lot of references to pop culture, sci-fi movies. That in itself is just great to kind of flip through the cards and have a bit of a read and see what they're playing on. Definitely my favorite deck building game that I currently own in my collection. It is very dynamic, and each game definitely plays differently. These 3 boards in the middle here, all of the boards are modular, but these 3 in particular have a different room or area of the spaceship on the back. So it's completely modular in the fact that you can set up the spaceship differently each time you play as well, which is fantastic from a replayability perspective. A couple of strategy pointers to help out in making sure that you are the one with the most victory points at the end. One of the best ways to boost your victory points is trying to make sure that you're able to get back to the cargo bay, but not only get back, but also escape using one of the escape pods. That's an extra 20 points, which can make and break a game. Bearing in mind, and I said this I think once or twice in the video as well, the only time you actually have the opportunity of counting your victory points at the end of the game is if you escape via one of the pods, or if you make it back to the cargo bay. Even if you get knocked out in the cargo bay, you will still be able to count your points. If you get knocked out anywhere else, unfortunately that is the end of the game for you, and you won't be able to, or your points won't count towards the end game score. Although you have 5 cards to play with, and you have to play all 5 cards, there is no rule indicating in which order those cards can be played. So it is, I've encountered a few times where strategically you may want to play one card before another. Specifically when Clank comes into play, there are cards that will remove Clank for you. So yes, you can place a Clank in there by making noise, but then the next card that you play may actually remove that Clank from the spaceship as well. So take that into consideration. You can play your cards in any specific order, in any order that you like. Navigating the spaceship, I found by far the teleporters using the telepass is the most convenient way of getting around. You'll find that whoever owns one of the 2 telepasses, again there's only 2 in the game, whoever owns those telepasses will primarily be the first one to get in, grab an artifact and be the first ones out. So try and push for one of those telepasses early on in the game. I found it very difficult to obtain credits or money as you go through. So any of, I guess what I can recommend is with your data cubes, try and use data ports that will actually net you some credits along the way that will kind of get you enough of the 7 credits to actually buy one of those telepasses. I talked about the different factions that are available on the cards. So the furry smuggler here with the pirate faction. It might be, what I found, it is best to try and stick to a specific faction. Try and build up a faction within your deck, only because of those bonuses that can occur on some of the cards. It will trigger those bonuses as you go through, and it will definitely propel you in making your way through the spaceship a lot easier than kind of spreading yourself out over the 3 factions. One thing I did fail to mention was when somebody leaves the spaceship, on their turn, they will automatically make Erraticus attack, and it will just be 4 cubes every single time. So when somebody leaves, that is your time to try and book it and get out of there as fast as possible, because you know as soon as it's that person's next turn, they're going to be pulling cubes out of that bag, which is only going to escalate the health meters here. And you don't want to get knocked out. If you want to get knocked out, you want to be in the cargo hold and not anywhere else. Otherwise, yeah, you don't get to count those victory points. So really important. Otherwise, guys, highly recommend Clank in Space. Check it out. If you have any other tips or suggestions on ways that we can get those victory points, add some comments in the comment section below, and we can start a conversation there as well. As always, please subscribe, like this video, share it with anyone that you think would benefit from the instructional and the tips and the tricks. And thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.